Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You'll get divorced. You'll get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the show where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. We are here today with a very special guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But it's my honor to have her on the show today. So who are you?
Well, thank you for having me. I am Woodson Bradley. Yes, I am a divorced woman who now is remarried with a blended family. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and assault. This was not on my bingo card. I am a freshman senator in the North Carolina legislature, and I ran on the platform of family law, domestic violence, power and control, and that North Carolina can do better. And no one has ever run on that platform before, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. It's so important. And that work is going to generationally change the world. And so we have to really just be loud about it. So I love talking to divorced humans, as I say, because every divorce is different. And you are somebody that, just like we are all about, you took what you went through, which was really hard. And I'm sure, you'll talk about it for a second, but you turned it into a platform to help others and to use your voice. So what were a few things? Can I call you Senator? Do people call you that?
Oh, gosh, call me Woodson, but you're so
Okay,
sweet.
I know,
No, just call me Woodson. Call me Woodson.
Okay, but I want to call you Senator.
You call me
Okay.
what you want to call me.
Okay, what were some things that you learned from getting divorced?
Oh, my goodness, that it's stacked against us, especially if you're a mother. Now, as a woman, it's stacked against you, and then you add mom on top of it, and the mountain just goes this steep. And I did not understand post-separation abuse. So it's one thing to be separated. It's another thing, then you have to maintain two separate households for a year. That really is grueling to women. And then whoever just wants to keep kicking this can down the road can have continuances at 6 months at a time. And then if they change attorneys, they can do another 6 months. So what should take 12 months took me almost 4 years.
Wow.
And all of that was legal because of the way the North Carolina statute is written. It all but bankrupted me. It was torture for the kids. There was all types of really evil, creepy things going on. And then I found out that my story is really not that different. And so I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of we can do better and what this means.
Yeah, so you are from North Carolina originally?
I am from Virginia, from Southside Virginia. So I grew up in a very small rural factory town just on the Virginia side of the North Carolina state line.
Okay, and you got married in North Carolina, I
Got
assume?
married in North Carolina, yes. So North Carolina is all I know as far as being married, getting divorced, and surviving that.
So you said this in terms of your own life, but can you talk us through a little bit what that process looks like in North Carolina if somebody does want to get divorced? Because it's a very different process than anywhere else in the country.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So first of all, you have to declare your separation. I encourage people to do that. You don't have to do that in writing, but I highly recommend it because then the burden of proof is on you as a woman to prove that you were living somewhere else or that he was living somewhere else. Then you have to maintain separate residences with not one overnight stay because the clock restarts. So if somebody's hard on their luck, I just need to crash here tonight. My car's out of gas. Oh, please, I can't get into my apartment. Unless you're willing to risk that, no, no, no. So that's something very unique to North Carolina, and it's ridiculous and it's stupid and it puts a huge burden, especially on women. So then you've got this
Wow.
year-long separation, and during that time, if you don't have an attorney, you might not know all the pitfalls in North Carolina law, meaning
Right.
if there's any domestic abuse, that's not gonna speed up this 12-month waiting period. If there's any harassment and stalking, again, that doesn't speed up the process because crimes are being committed against you. If you have children, you're probably going to be forced to a 50-50 or every other weekend or something like that until the divorce is final. But here's the kicker. If you're entitled to any alimony and you agree to anything in that 12-month period and then the divorce happens and then you find out that they've been hiding money, hiding assets, lying about whatever it is financially, you have zero recourse, zero. Even if that other person committed fraud of getting alimony after the fact. That is criminal. That does not exist in business law. That does not exist in real estate law. That does not exist in any other statute except when it comes to divorce in North Carolina. And the original statute that was written way over 100 years ago by some crusty old fart in the legislature, and I can say that because I'll work with a lot of them. In the statute, at the end of the statute, it said that it was a year-long separation so that she would have an opportunity to come back to her senses.
And it's still in there. It's still in there.
So, I mean, that
Right.
tells you everything you need to know.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So a couple clarifying questions from
Sure.
me because I'm so fascinated and confounded by this, but not surprised. Um when you say you're separated for the year, can you start the divorce process or could you have to literally wait till start the divorce process until the year is up?
You have to wait for the year to be up to confirm and prove that you have had that year long. What I encourage people to do is start that process early, even if you have that paperwork sitting on a shelf. Have your calendar and count down because you don't want to have one thing out of place that the minute that 365th day hits, that you can't go right to the courthouse and be ready to go. And you'll be shocked how in many cases, the other party, depending on the tenor of it,
Mhm.
will throw speed bumps and hurdles in your way to keep prolonging that. So technically, you don't have to, but I think you'd be a fool not to.
So you can have a lawyer, you can like get all your ducks in a row and all of
Yep.
those things. It's just that you can't actually file for divorce until that year is up.
Well, you can file for it, but you're going to have to wait for that year to come
Okay.
up for it to actually be
Be
on,
legal.
be taken care
Got
of.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But you can
Yeah.
negotiate. You can start
Okay.
negotiating your custody. You can start
Got it.
negotiating assets, alimony, um, uh, like selling things,
Yep.
real estate. And I'm in
Okay.
real estate professionally, and I am a divorce real estate specialist because that's a
Yeah.
whole
Yes.
one
Yes.
person can buy a home in North Carolina, but if you're married and not legally divorced, two people it takes to sign to sell. And that's another trap for women. You could be held hostage by someone on the biggest asset you may or may
Yeah.
not have contributed to if they
Yeah.
decide to hold you up on that. And it's a cruel negotiating tool.
I'm so glad we're chatting and getting these answers because I definitely feel like not only is the process so confusing, but they make it confusing right on purpose. And
Yes.
so much of so much of the divorce education that women have had historically is oral tradition, right? It's just
Yeah.
talking to each other, and that can be really confusing, right? Especially if I heard, "Oh, you can't do anything for a year," I would think, "I'm gonna just stand my ground and not do anything for a year." And then, like you're saying, women wait and don't realize they could be doing all of these other things. So that's all fascinating. Who does this benefit?
Typically the husband. The man,
Yeah.
90% of the time, and
Yeah.
not all men are creeps.
Yes.
But when you look at the pattern here, even though the language has been amended to not be discriminatory in print, it is crystal clear the disproportionate burden that is put on women in North Carolina, and especially if there is a child involved. You are going to literally get for lack of a better expression, like strangled or suffocated financially,
Yeah.
emotionally, the burden of all of a sudden becoming a single parent, even if they say they're doing 50% of the work,
Yeah.
99% of the time doesn't happen. So it's a very disproportionate scale. And then you've got people in the courts that truly, when they're in law school and when they're doing something, you have people sitting as judges and magistrates that do not understand the dynamics
Right.
of the post separation abuse. That could be legal, that could be digital, that could be sexual, that could be financial. Financial's the number one post separation abuse in North Carolina. And
Yep.
it's very hard to prove. Like, for example, my husband, ex-husband, I call him my husband, so we'll just stick with that. My
Yep.
husband drained all of our joint accounts, being retirement, savings, the kids' college plans, and everything. And in North Carolina law, he was able to do that. And I thought because I had filed the separation papers that those assets were frozen. Not true. So I learned the hard way on that. And so do a lot of other women.
Wow. That's really scary, right? It's kind of like a horror
Beyond
movie.
scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do women survive this time?
This is all about grit. And this is all about finding representation that truly is going to be your advocate. They are not going to be looking for charging hourly
Yeah.
charges to string
Yeah.
things along, and using the different legal aid and services that are specifically designed for women and moms dealing with this to help navigate this maze, depending on your circumstance. That is huge. Take advantage of it. There are seminars, there are podcasts like this. There are all kinds of things now because of social media and being online that weren't available when I was going through this when I did. And so it's why I'm very loud about it. It's a prickly subject. But now, I mean, more than 2 out of 3 North Carolina marriages are ending in divorce. And that's also a national statistic.
Mhm.
So it's more often than not, we shouldn't have this information hidden from us, especially when it comes to strategy. But you're going to have to find a sense of strength within you that you do not know that you have and push through this and fight for what's yours. That's the one thing about women. And I will say this about myself. I am a fierce advocate for other people. I am not the best advocate for myself. And I know that. And if that resonates with you, you need to find your grizzly bear to come with you to these meetings and be present in those rooms, whether they're hired or somebody that joins you to
Yeah.
fight for you, so that you don't end up empty handed like I did. But I rebuilt my life and it was not pretty. But that's why I'm so raw about this and helping fix it for other people.
Yeah, can you talk to us before you go for a minute about what that post-divorce journey for you looked like and how you got where you are now?
Yes. So my post-divorce journey was him literally burning everything to the ground. If I can't be married to you, even though he was the one that was philandering around, if I can't have you, no one can. And it was scary. And financially, it was a train wreck. And by the grace of God, I had a crappy little investment property that I bought before we were married in my name, had renters in it. It was a double ride trailer way out in the country. And so when I had nothing, my credit was destroyed by him, everything. And I was trying to rebuild my life. I couldn't be a realtor anymore during that season because it was unsafe. He was showing up at open houses and things like
Mm.
that. It was so creepy. And because of stalking laws, no one could stop him. So I moved to this double wide with my 2 young children in the middle of nowhere. We fix it up. We make it our own. We switched schools. And I lived a very simple life. And I was determined to never look back, like never go back to that again. And rebuilding my life with different jobs, multiple jobs, navigating healthcare, navigating childcare, navigating school pickups, making sure that he wasn't anywhere around to kidnap them or do something crazy. And then the court system was a maze full of legal forms that I knew nothing about, and finding an attorney that would work with me that wasn't terribly expensive, but this was their specialty. They knew how to do this, and taking that on And then it got extended and continued and continued. All of a sudden, the script flipped when I quit defending myself and put him in the hot seat for all of the things that he had done. And because he was so careless, he left a lot of breadcrumbs that I started gathering. So if this is anything like this is happening to you, you need to have a notebook, a scratch pad, wake up in the middle of the night, think of something. You need to catalog phone calls, catalog conversations, things that he says at custody exchanges or whatever. By the end of all of it, he owed me child support, which I never saw a penny of, but in exchange of making me financially whole, his parental rights were terminated and he volunteered to do it. And
Wow.
having him out of our life has been the greatest blessing ever. Now, this isn't a story for everyone. There are some men that should be seeing their children and
Yep.
all of those things. This was not the case. And so, fighting that fight with judges, magistrates, other attorneys, and advocates that it truly was best for the children not to have this toxicity in our lives, it was worth the cost because now I did start my own business. I did work multiple jobs. I got on my feet. The children were with me every step of the way. I got the resources that were needed by Mecklenburg County. Every county has different resources that are available to you. And we got on our feet, and I will never, ever look back. And I will help anybody get across that finish line. It was not pretty. It was
Yeah.
awful. And I'll never forget it. I'm kind of scarred by it, if you can't tell. However, you channel that pain into action for other women, and I promise you, you can be the champion of your whole family.
Ugh, you're gonna make me cry. I am so proud of you,
No!
first of all. Like, what a beautiful story. I hope someday we get a biopic about this when you're president. And I think that, like, I just, I say to people all the time, like, if I can do this, you can do this. And you're the
Totally.
same way. Like I was not prepared at all for this. And I hate that it's so cliche, but it really is true. Like I was praying on the kitchen floor for my
Oh,
ancestors to help me, right? And it's like I was there. And so I think it's so amazing. And what are you doing now? How can we support you in all of this?
well, now, because I've caused a ruckus in North Carolina, the state legislature, and especially in the Senate chamber, yeah, I'm up for reelection. And I'm just going to tell you this in the political stance, it's just the truth. I am the number one target to get out of the North Carolina General Assembly this fall. Why? Because I'm fighting for women, I'm fighting for kids, and I'm doing it in a way that is indefensible by people that object to it. And the more they object to it, the more I just shine a light on it. And because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of us in this state, there's millions of us in the country. And it's okay. It's okay to be a regular person who is just fighting a fight. And hopefully that will inspire other regular people like me to go out and take some action on this because this affects more people than it doesn't. And so, me doing that, just needing your help, just give me a shout out. And I promise you, if you need anything, people DM me on Insta and Facebook and TikTok all the time. And I love helping them find the resources that they need. But we can do this. It doesn't have to be this way. And that's what I want you to know. Someone's got to be the change maker. And it doesn't have to be one person. It can be everybody listening to this. If we just gathered together, that
Mm,
it's time for change.
it is time for change. Absolutely. Before we let you go, if somebody's listening to this and they're going through a divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could leave them with today?
Divorce isn't I was raised to believe it was a dirty word. It was a really bad word, and it was just meant that you were a failure or what like, I saw people pin this on other women when I was growing up. Divorce can end up yes, it's grueling, and it is an emotional, horrific ride, but when you get to the other side of it, all of a sudden, it can be the freedom that you never thought you would have again. And it can open up your life to happiness and joy and something to be proud of, but also to be a role model for the other women in your community, in your family. It could be your children, could be your best friend, and have that pay it forward movement so others don't have to go through what you did. So I challenge you that as horrible as it is, and all of the tears and the crying on the floor and literally shaking out sofa cushions for money when everything was depleted and scrimping and scraping by, you find out who your real friends are. You find out who your friends aren't. You find a sense of strength in yourself that you never knew you had. And I cannot tell you how sweet the air is and the water is and the food is of just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when you are able to do that for yourself and be free. And I know that sounds so silly, but every day, it's just a new day
Yeah.
and nothing will stop me. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and you can do it.
So, so, so true. I love it. Well, we are so appreciative of you and the work that you do. Please come
Oh,
back anytime to chat. And we will be cheering you on. And I'll put all the links in the show notes so people can follow along. Thank you so much for taking the time and being here
thank
today.
you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.